We're filming in front of someone else.
You're not used to it?
I'm not used to it.
Should I just drink on cam?
Yeah, of course. Cheers. Cheers. Oh, that was loud. Let's do another one. Cheers. Hello. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
This is Abby, my lovely friend Abby. Welcome to another instalment of Girly Chat, Girly Q&A, TMI Girl Talk Advice. We have a little Sunday afternoon wine. If this is your first video you're seeing of mine, welcome. My name's Charlotte. I do vlogging amongst some other sit-down YouTube style stuff. If you haven't seen my other two TMI Girl Talk videos, I'll link them in the description box. Basically, I put a call out on my Instagram for any kind of like TMI Girl Talk questions, you know, friendship, relationship advice, work advice. Previously, when I'd done this video, I am by no means a corporate girly. I've always worked in retail or charity industries. I'm fairly new to office jobs, but Abby is a very corporate girly. She is an HR business partner.
I don't know if I'd go as far as to say very corporate girly.
Well, like, you've been in corporate for like a bit longer than I ever have. I think we've got quite a lot of like work career questions because she's actually more suitably qualified to answer them, especially as I'm just like not about my career and you are. I'm not about my office career and you are much more about your office career.
Yeah, you're your own boss.
Try to be. A little background on us. We've been friends 5 years. 5 years-ish. We kind of traced it back and that's what we figured. So we met at work at Victoria's Secret. We used to both sell bra and pant.
Bra and pant girlies.
Abby left and then I eventually left and we still somehow managed to stay friends for that long. So I thought it'd be nice to have you.
Remember when we weren't friends? I can't remember like...
No.
Like BC, before Shah.
We tried to trace it back in our Instagram messages because it definitely was like pre-pandemic and all it is me responding to stories of yours saying great rack.
Oh my god, love that tattoo.
Fire emoji, like that back and forth, and then
eyes
somehow
emoji.
We've come out of it and we see each other now like 3 or 4 times a week. Yeah, we're going to be answering some of your questions today. I think it'll be quite interesting because we've got the questions down here, this is why we're looking down. We've got quite different takes and quite shared experience on a lot of them, so I think it's good to have dual perspective.
And we're yappers.
So we're going to try keep it short and concise where we can, but I'm dreading editing. We're going to try not to talk over each other. But yeah, thank you to everyone that submitted a question. There was quite a lot of grief related questions and I'm thinking that I'm going to be parceling those out into a solo video. So if you don't see your question in today's video, I'm sorry, we tried to get to all of them. Grief edition is going to come in a separate video just to like protect our own spoons essentially.
Yes.
But yeah, what I've done is I split it into categories. So I'll put the category timestamps in the description box if you want to skip to them faster. But we're going to start off with friendship because it feels like the most apt one to do. First question is, how did you become and stay friends? I'm 27 and find it so hard to make friends as an adult.
Becoming friends was just like a lucky...
That scared me.
Oh my god. We became friends through work, through selling bras and knickers.
I think when I look at most of my friendships, they are actually all through work. Yeah. But we also worked in retail, which is quite an informal workspace and I think allows people to become friends quicker.
I think you kind of have to be.
Then maybe, yeah, you have to be, don't you?
Survival mode.
Than an office space. And also I'm quite wary of telling people to make friends at work because not everyone you work with will always be your friend. Yeah. And I've had people that I've worked with that I felt were really good friends and then we've left and we've never spoken again. Friends by circumstance.
Friends by circumstance, which we were initially.
With staying friends, we already like messaged quite a lot while we were in work, so it felt quite easy to stay friends.
I don't know how we became friends because you scared me. Just don't know how this has even happened. You came into work and you were like more senior, more experienced, and also you've always been like quite like withheld, but like you're withheld until you're not.
Yeah, I'm quite private, I think.
You're quite private, yeah, whereas I'm like oversharer, blah, 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 blah.
As for like staying friends, I think a lot of people do this, yeah, and I'm definitely guilty of this. Cutting people off at the first like sign of anything that you don't like about them. Not that we've ever really had an argument or any kind of falling out.
Patience.
Yeah, patience. And I think wording it like, I think a lot of people now are like, I'm going to cut off someone at the first sign that they're not right for me, keep my circle small. There's a lot of this kind of
like boundary talk and
therapy talk, but actually the way that you forge a community is forgiveness and understanding and empathy of each other. I think there's so much value in recognizing what's right for you and what doesn't serve you and all of this kind of talk. Yeah, when you're friends with someone for a really long time, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, there will be times where we will probably fall out just because we haven't fallen out yet.
I can't imagine falling out.
I hope not. I think if we had an argument tomorrow,
Yeah.
I wouldn't chuck 5 years of friendship away over like an argument.
No, but also more than that as well. Obviously, when you become friends with someone, you don't have that 5 years of history, so it does become easy if there like is a period of time which is like a bit tricky because maybe one person's going through something in their life outside of the friendship that means that it's harder to maintain. You have to have patience through that even in the early doors.
Empathy and understanding that different people communicate in different ways, and there's like some friends that are for some things and some friends that aren't for everything, you know. Like we're quite lucky in the sense that I would view you as a friend that's for everything, but some people you're only going to have friends that are like going out friends or gym friends.
Not every friend has to serve every purpose, I don't think. What do we always say? What's that thing that we say, like where it's if you can only give 40%, then I'll meet you with the 60. If I can give you 70% and you can only give 30, then we'll meet each other in the middle. And I think a large way of our friendship, like being consistent and lasting for so long, is because we always meet each other for the most part in the middle, and we're quite mindful that like if I know you're going through a period where you're feeling down or you're not feeling as sociable, I know when to like step it up a bit, to be like, come on, let's go out, let's catch up.
And I know it sounds like really transactional to be like a friendship is a give and take, like you should get something from your friends. It's not as transactional as it sounds, but that is the case. Like, I get something from you and you get something from me, and there might be a period of time where I give to you more than you give to me, but I know it's cyclical and it will always come back round.
So next question is, I am an introverted extrovert and I've moved countries. I've never felt so insecure. I recently started a new job and also trying to make friends, but I just feel so insecure. Tips.
Congratulations on moving countries.
Yeah,
that's a really big thing. That's
huge.
Also really, really difficult. I've had like friends that have moved countries, and I like consume a lot of content of people that have moved countries, and not easy, especially if you've moved by yourself. My first kind of advice would be to assess if there's anyone at your new job that you feel like you can make friends with. I know we were just saying like you need to be careful about who you make friends with at work, but I think in the first instance when you move, that's kind of like your biggest group and your biggest communication,
your
and
resource.
That will help you get your confidence up.
The thought of moving to another country and getting a new job in another country is like so scary, but also very exciting. You said, you know, I feel so insecure. You're smashing it. Like, you've moved to another country, you've got a new job in another country. Maybe give yourself some flowers as well. Like, take a moment to sit and think, actually, I do have insecurities about making new friends, but I've also made this huge step and this huge change, which is very brave, and it's not the lived experience of a lot of people, so give yourself flowers for doing that as well. I know that's not like practical advice as to how to make friends, but I think also if your perspective is open to making those new friends and actually going, do you know what, I'm really brave, I've made this really big change. What's putting myself out there once more? What's putting myself out there once more at the coffee machine with a new colleague?
Asking for recommendations is like a practical tip, I guess. If there's things you like to do, places you like to eat, workout classes, where do you recommend? Maybe I could come with you. I think feeling insecure about not having many friends in a new place is a part and parcel of the moving experience. So like Abby said, like give yourself a bit of grace. It's gonna feel scary. I get scared like going to a new workout class, you know. I would see, depending on where you've moved to and the area you've moved to, if you're on Facebook, if there's any like Facebook groups in your city. One other tip, I can't remember who it was from, but I saw when they moved country, what they did is they went on the geotag for their city and they went and followed a bunch of girls
on Instagram.
Or people, on Instagram.
Oh, that's cool. That's a good idea.
Of girls that lived there, not in like a creepy way, but in a way to get recommendations, or you know, just like immerse yourself like locally. What I was saying about Facebook, I think I didn't finish my sentence. In Brighton, there's Brighton Girl Group.
I was thinking of
which is a huge group.
This person saying they feel insecure, so how do they get over the insecurity of like joining a group? Just confidence.
I
just have to do it, don't you?
I think it's just like repeated exposure to doing things, and also figuring out maybe why you feel insecure. This is an insecure part of your life, like you've moved, like you don't have the security of like your usual things, but figuring out why you feel insecure, staying connected to people at home, but not so much that you feel like you're not making friends in your new city. Putting those small steps in to like go out and ask people you work with, all of the things we previously just said, I think are good first steps. Leaning into the fact that you're not going to feel good for quite a long period of time, and it's going to ebb and flow. From everyone I know that's moved, it's taken quite a long time for them to feel really like established in their new town or city, new country.
Setting up a whole new life, it's never going to be an overnight thing. In your new job as well, take advantage of the opportunities to socialise with your colleagues. They don't have to become your best friends, but you don't know how you might meet other people through those individuals. And
also one last thing, if you have moved to a country where your language is not the native language, going to language classes. Language can be a huge barrier integrating into a new country, but you might meet someone that speaks the same like your native language, vice versa. I don't know if this is a problem for you, but that's just like an extra tip. How to make friends in your late 20s. When you find out the answer to this, let me know.
We're not a very good example of this.
We're not a very good example of this because we're just like in each other's pocket.
Yeah, we're like, oh, should we meet up again? Just
we don't
two
need
of us?
any other friends.
No.
This is really hard. I think this is a huge thing for so many people. If anyone has any other tips, please put it in the comments.
Yeah, for sure.
I'd love to see. What do you think?
Just find one really good one and stick with that.
Find one really good one and never let them go.
What do I actually think?
I think I'm an extroverted introvert, and I think you're just an extrovert. If I wanted to go and make loads more new friends, I think about this quite a lot. I would do things like look at my interests. I would go to more fitness classes. I would put myself in groups.
Yeah.
Things like fitness classes can be really difficult, and I try to do this now. I try hang around or get there like 5 minutes early, and when I hear a conversation, I like try to chat. Cringes me out. It's really painful. I've never tried it, but I think if I moved, I would try Bumble BFF.
Yeah, that's a good
I would
point.
try that.
Just like dating, you wouldn't just, well, you could just meet someone organically. That would always be the hope. Rare though. But if you were looking actively to make more friends, then just like dating, you have to put yourself out there, like Shah said. Yeah, I agreed to start going to a book club, and I didn't necessarily go because I wanted to make more friends, but it was a happy kind of byproduct of that. And that just happened purely because that fell across my lap and someone said, hey, like, we're going to start a book club, do you want to join? And I could have said, oh no, like I'm busy, I'm tired, you know, all of the excuses about like life getting in the way. I thought actually I need to make effort, like I need to be inquisitive, I need to be curious, I need to go. So I think not underestimating that, like Shah said, you do have to put effort into it, you do have to nurture it, and you do also have to sit through periods of discomfort. Like if you went on a few bad dates, person or couple of people you meet, you know, they might not necessarily turn out to be your best friend.
You know, everyone's done that thing where they've met someone, I feel like we could be friends.
Yeah, I
whether
love
it's
that
like
feeling.
your nail girl
click with
or like a
someone.
service provider or someone that you speak to, and no one ever does it. So the next section is love/relationships/sex. We had a few juicy ones. Should I break up with my boyfriend of 1 year and 8 months before or after Christmas? He's not really putting in the effort.
Before.
Do you know what? I'm going to speak from my limited scope of experience here, but it is very pertinent to the situation. I'm laughing because I'm uncomfortable. It's not funny. I previously went through this. I'm always going to say before, because in my head, I was like, maybe I need to break up with them after because it's more appropriate. It felt really mean to break up with someone before Christmas. And do you know what day I made it to? Boxing Day. I broke up with them on Boxing Day. And that was really not my finest moment at all. I thought I could make it through till like clearing New Year's. Christmas only solidified for me that I needed to break up with them then, and I just couldn't wait, and I did it on Boxing Day, and I felt really bad. And you are always gonna feel like you've made the right decision for yourself. Before or after Christmas, they're not gonna be happy with you. It's gonna be upsetting. Like being broken up with is really bad, but you can mitigate how bad you make it and not do what I did, which is not break up with them on Boxing Day. Yeah. I would say before. I actually don't know what time this video is going up and edited because I felt like I wanted to respond to your message. Yeah, I wanted to respond to your message before and say like before. I would also say as well, like, do not take the advice of people that you watch videos from on the internet wholeheartedly. We don't know the nuance of your relationship.
We're not qualified.
We're not qualified to speak on this. I would say as soon as you can before, to make things as easy as possible for everyone involved. You want to treat someone with respect and dignity, and I think me breaking up with someone on Boxing Day was not treating them with respect and dignity. That was wholeheartedly me thinking of myself.
Any time spent in addition to that thought process having occurred and that decision being made is also just more taxing on you, like pretending and like having to go through Christmas, which is always a busy, sometimes emotional, sometimes difficult time of year, you know, pretending with this person and kind of going through the motions, which is just exhausting. I mean, it's an exhausting time of year anyway.
It's about like whether you feel like what it is that you want from the effort can be changed with a constructive conversation. I'm not saying like break up with someone at the first hurdle, but I do think, especially as women, we don't make these decisions lightly.
Like the breakup starts for women before the breakup happens.
Yeah.
And we emotionally check out quite a lot, like earlier, I think, than men, whereas men can be more reactive in the moment, not to like blanket generalise, but through my experience anyway, that's been the case. So I just think there's never going to be a good time. Like if it's not Christmas, it will be close to someone's birthday, or it will be close to Valentine's Day in February. There's never going to be a good time to have that conversation. But I think if you can save yourself having to save face over Christmas when there's already so much going on, good luck, you'll be okay.
You'll be fine.
How do you stop obsessing over an ex-boyfriend? It's been 3 months, it's consuming.
We've all been there.
Sucker punch to the gut.
Literally makes my stomach drop.
Yeah.
My first bit of advice that might be the same as yours. Delete, block, cold cut, contact. Blocker. It's so hard to block.
It is hard, yeah.
It's hard to block. Delete your burner accounts if you have them. Block. Say to your friends.
I was going to say this.
I don't want to hear, I don't want to know.
Nothing.
Especially if you've got like mutual friends. Mute anyone. that you feel like you might see him on, and if that's like close friends, for example, let them know. Say, I'm just going to mute your stories. It's not that I'm being rude, I haven't seen you. If you get as many people as you feel comfortable involved as possible, it's accountability.
Yeah, I totally agree. I've had friends who have come to me after breakups and they've been in this exact same place, as have I, as have you. Said to them, no. They'll say, oh, like, have you seen his story? Do you know what's going on? Or can you go look at his profile and see if he's actually seeing that girl? And I'll just say no.
No.
Absolutely not.
Don't let them enable you. Like,
no.
It will be so painful. The first week is always the worst, especially when you're like obsessed with someone and consumed with someone. Delete their sisters, delete their cousins. Like, don't give yourself an avenue to get in there.
Yeah.
And maybe just get off socials. I don't mean to be like get off socials, but like get a hobby. Fill the time that you would spend with something productive.
I think interrupting those kind of like obsessive feelings, those like very intrusive feelings with other things can always be a good thing. But interrupt that feeling, go off and do something else, read a chapter of your book, call a friend, FaceTime a friend, go out for a walk. I've interrupted those feelings by doing something which is productive and healthy and helpful for me in my journey, and hopefully 9 times out of 10 it will subside. You deserve better.
Good luck.
Thanks. I don't know why I said thanks, so you're saying good luck to me. 6-year relationship. Not having sex often, but I don't want to initiate. I want him to.
Oh, you're so real for that.
You're so You're talking to two non-initiators.
Literally, you're talking to two people that don't like to initiate. I think this is a really common problem.
The obvious one, I think, is you just have to communicate that. If your gateway into having like intimacy with your partner is that actually you like it and feel, you know, like aroused and like romanticized by them.
So I'm laughing at you using the word aroused.
I'm trying to be like professional. I'm trying to be biological.
I'm going to recommend that you read a book, and I don't know what the book is called, so I'm just going to look up who the author is.
Did my answer of communicate not hit the mark? I do think communication is a part of this. If you feel as though you can, then I think you should communicate with your partner, and it is okay to be someone who isn't the fan of initiating.
Yeah, 100%.
If you tell your partner and say, actually, I do want us to be intimate with each other, however, for us to get into that situation, I actually feel most aroused and into that when you're the one who's taking charge of that situation, when you're the one who's initiating that. And also explain what initiation means to you. Yeah, what that looks like to you, because for me, initiation isn't just the act of initiating sex. It starts, and I think for many women does, starts from
the beginning of
opening a door for me, telling me my outfit looks nice,
flirting with me,
saying, hey, should we go out for dinner next week? Like, that for me can all be a part of the foreplay, like the initiation.
Yeah, it's really hard to have this conversation. It's going to be harder for some people than others, depending on your partner. Having this conversation is not sexy. Like, it's not going to make either of you feel like you want to do it. From like the information you've given us, if you're not having sex often but you don't want to initiate, is he relying on you to initiate? Have you historically always been the person that has initiated? Is he taking your non-initiation as a sign of disinterest? In which case we're in this like cycle of he's waiting for you to initiate, you're waiting for him to initiate.
And then you feel as though there's an inherent deep-rooted problem with your relationship because you're not having regular sex.
And actually you just haven't like had a conversation about it. The book that I would recommend is called Come As You Are by Emily Nagoski. It taught me a lot about what I want, what I need. I think it's a really good book. It's a non-fiction, so it's like you might want to listen to it or like just cherry pick paragraphs.
It's totally fine that you don't want to. That's the bottom line. If you don't want to, you don't. If you don't feel comfortable. But I would encourage you to have some self-chat, some self-awareness, and have a think, why exactly is it that I don't want to initiate? Is it actually that just isn't my style, that's just not my MO when it comes to like intimate situations? Or is it that there's something behind that? 'Cause like fear or apprehension about initiation is about fear of like rejection, or like trying to initiate something with your partner and then, God forbid, the one time you do initiate, them turning around and being like, actually babe, I'm not really in the mood. Which I think if you're not used to initiating, 1 or 2 of those situations can basically feel like total shutdown. Make smooching great again.
Make smooching great again.
Make making out great again.
Hashtag bring back fingering.
You have always said that to me.
I have always said that. I hope that was useful. And we're only giggling because it's sex talk and we're nearly 30-year-old women that can't talk about sex on YouTube without giggling, imagine. Okay, this is quite a similar question. So how do you deal with periods of low sex drive, low sexual compatibility? And then we had another question that was how to manage different libidos. I'm pretty low, his is so high. For reference, the person who sent this in said that his high looks like 3 times a day and her low looks like 5 times a week.
I feel bow-legged thinking about it.
I feel bow-legged thinking about it.
I feel tired.
Thank you so much for telling us.
For your honesty.
For your honesty.
And openness.
My flabbers were ghasted reading that 5 times a week.
Does he have a job? I'm not being rude. Like, how are you doing that?
I want to start this conversation with respect and love and say that
there's no shame here.
Everyone's sex drive is relative and so different. But it ebbs and flows. As someone that's been in a relationship for 8 years without spilling my own tea, 'cause everyone's is completely different. And for anyone that's watching this and hearing 3 times a day versus 5 times a week being the reference for high and low, this is individual to this person's circumstance.
Yeah, that's not fact.
That's not
just
fact
for these individuals. And also, us laughing isn't us shaming people for having certain sex drives. Again, it's just personal to us and what we might feel is high or low as well.
2 grieving girls.
2 grieving girls. I think the worst thing that can happen when there's like sexual incompatibility, particularly as it relates to like libido, is to be too serious about it. I don't know why, that's like my personal feeling, and I don't mean like make light of it or joke about it, but in the past, if there have been times where like libidos haven't been matching up, I've just kind of laughed about it with my partners and accepting each other for having different libidos at different times, and also being grateful for what I have outside of our intimacy as well. Companionship, trust, enjoying just spending time together. I mean, that's companionship.
Something I should have said in the last question that I didn't. It was really hard for me, and I think it's really hard for a lot of women, to remove your sense of self-worth and how good you are as a partner with how much you're getting it and how much you're wanted. Putting in the work to remove the feeling of your self-worth being associated with how much you're having sex, I think is probably the biggest favour I ever did myself.
If you do have incompatible libidos at some point or another, there's going to have to be effort involved in like doing this, meeting in the middle, and that unfortunately will also stem from communication. I think we're always talking about like communicating things with people. I will communicate with my partner and say, actually, like, I'm feeling quite down this week about my dad passing, or work's really stressful and I'm really just not in that headspace. Okay, let's like reach a practical solution. So like next week, should we go on a date night, or do you want to buy me some nice lingerie that we can enjoy together? Again, it's just about communication, removing that tie of self-worth to how often you're being intimate with your partner.
Pressure is not going to make you feel sexy. Going back to the question, it's about the 3 times a day versus 5 times a week. In this case, having actually a proper conversation with your partner about what you're physically capable of as well. Everyone is very, very different.
Yeah.
Like, I think back to like when you first start seeing someone, you do like 5-6 times a day, and now I'm like,
and categorically, when it comes to libidos and physical intimacy, no one should ever feel pressured or like they're in a place where they have to be meeting someone else's higher libido. And I would encourage you, if you're getting to that place where I don't really want to do this, but I don't want to disappoint them, or I don't want them to think of me any differently as a partner.
If it feels like appeasement,
don't do it.
Anything less than enthusiastic yes
is a no. That's a hill I'll die on.
That's a hill I'll die on. Periods of low sex drive and low sexual compatibility, the longer you get into a relationship, it is just a part of life. And I hate to sound like a jaded person that's been with their partner for a really long time, but things are going to happen to you in your life that are going to mean you don't want to fuck. Things are going to change. Like, you're not going to be just like this level 10 horniness all the way throughout your relationship. I think it's knowing what makes you feel sexy as well, and sexual, and like valued and reciprocated from your partner, because low sexual compatibility or libido is not only tied to how you feel about yourself, but how you feel your partner operates in relation to you. So if like quality time is something that makes you feel sexy and you're not getting a lot of quality time, there's no wonder you're not going to feel sexy. We've been talking about shagging for like 20 minutes or something.
That's all we talk about anyway. We're just filming at this time.
We love nuance.
Yeah, we do.
That non-answer.
We're never going to give you a straight answer.
So we're moving into the work section. For context, so I am in an office job. I'm a PA. Been in this job for like 3 months, and before that I have like an administrative background anyway. And Abby's been an HR business partner, and you've been in an office job for quite a long time, haven't you? And you're very more, I'd say, like more driven on the career ladder than I am, because obviously ultimately my goal is to do this full time and be self-employed, and you're climbing the ladder, you're working on that.
I've always been quite career focused, I think.
In a traditional sense, I think is the important difference between
distinction between our careers, for sure. I mean, they're still careers, they're just so different, aren't they? Because mine's more like corporate.
You're more versed in like playing the game, as it were.
Yes and no. Everyone's journeys are different. I came from being the first in my family to go to uni, and so like that was always something that was a big focus for me, was like academic achievement. And then moving into my job now, it was actually never like my intention to like go straight into HR business partnering, but I fell into it, and so I suppose I'm well qualified to talk about that kind of journey, I guess.
So the first question is, looking for advice on work boundaries and burnout.
Just comes back to communication again, really. And I don't want to say that in like a really sweeping sense, because it's not always easy to communicate boundaries in like a corporate environment or an office environment, whether or not you consider your office environment to be corporate or not. I have a fairly like laid back corporate environment. It's a smaller business. There are definitely differences and nuances between if you work for like an SME or if you work for like a company that's like 3,000 big. But I would hope that if you're in the fortunate position to have like a good manager, if you feel as though there are boundaries that are being crossed that are leading you to like a burnout phase, the best way you can go about avoiding that is communicating that with your manager and just being open and honest. And I think boundaries also differ from person to person as well.
And boundaries change.
And they change depending on what point of your life you're in. A great example for me recently is that I've realised that being contactable on my time off, like when I'm on annual leave, is actually like a big no-no for me. For a while it started to happen and I pick up, you know, the odd call or look at the odd message. I work for a smaller business and I lead a function in that business, so I'm also very reasonable with my boundaries. I understand that in some cases I do need to be contactable because I am the only person that does my function, my job. But communicating fair and reasonable boundaries, putting in place tools on the other side for the rest of the team, for instance, and to allow them to support those boundaries is important. So going back to my example of not wanting to be contacted when I'm on annual leave, I said to my manager, you know, I appreciate that because of my role and the part I have to play in the business, that sometimes I will need to be contacted. However, what would be helpful for me is if there were more of a triage system in place with the rest of the team so that there are multiple steps before I become contacted. Communicating boundaries is going to be the easiest way to protect you from getting to a burnout point. I don't say it to say that that is an easy process, but that is the simplest way, because if your boundaries are preserved, then just naturally it's easier not to get to that point where you're feeling overworked, overwhelmed, overstimulated, and all of that kind of stuff. Helping your workplace accommodate your boundaries is also an important part of doing that. It can't just sit and say, this is what I want and expect it to happen. I think if you're really reasonable about how you go to implement them, then 9 out of 10 times, hopefully they're respected. Although of course we know historically there are issues with communicating boundaries to managers. Burnout can stem from people taking on too much responsibility, whether it be because they don't trust others to be able to do work to a high standard. That's a big thing for me. Like, I'm really good at my job. I take my job very seriously, so naturally it can sometimes be difficult to delegate things to others. But actually what I've learned recently is that if I equip people with the tools that they need to succeed and the knowledge that they need to succeed, 9 out of 10 times I can delegate. And also preempting burnout as well. Like, there's busier times of the year as well in lots of different roles. Like, you guys get really busy around September. So if I know it's going to be a busier time of year, then
make things easier.
Yeah, make things easier for yourself. It is certainly the responsibility of your workplace, and they have a duty of care. This is like very HR business partner of me. So HR of me. Your workplace has a duty of care to you, but you have a duty to communicate what you need from them, like any relationships. That was a really long answer, but
great answer though.
Thorough, hopefully.
I get burnt out really easily. I think because I work a job in an office and then this is like my second job, I'm prone to getting quite burnt out because I finish work and I carry on working. There's something you can look up, it's called like, I don't know if it's 7 types, I might be wrong, but like the 7 types of rest. You need social rest, you need like work rest. I can't remember any of the others, but when I'm feeling burnt out, I like to look at that and think about the areas of my life in which I feel rested and the ones in which I feel exhausted. If I'm feeling exhausted in like 5 types out of those areas, it's like a recipe for disaster. I have to like gentle parent myself, but it like helps me identify what I need like actually in other areas.
Work from home, my job is very demanding and anxious about communication styles with my boss.
So you don't work from home?
I don't work from home. I'm in the office 5 days a week, which is I guess unusual these days, but
yeah, I work from home 2 days a week. Work from home has only been introduced in my newest role, so like I've only been doing this 3 months, so I work from home 2 days a week. Very demanding and anxious about communication styles with my boss. When I started working from home, I was also quite anxious about the fact that I wasn't having this like face-to-face with people, so I felt like I was maybe being misconstrued or misinterpreted.
Well, communication style is so difficult if you don't have like regular face-to-face one-on-one time, because a lot of the nuances and how we understand other people's communication styles is by interacting with them face-to-face. So I think that's really difficult if you're
when I started,
not in contact a lot.
I know this is coming from like a view of when I started, which I think it's easier in which to like have this conversation, but you still might be able to. I knew what my communication style is, my preferred one. So I had this conversation. I said, I have ADHD, this and this suit me best. I prefer a direct communication style. If you're asking me to do things, I prefer it clear and concise as possible. If we're talking face to face and you're tasking me with something, if I'm not writing it down, I would love to follow up with an email or a message. I know that some people are not lucky and that they are not able to do this with their bosses, depending on the level of their boss. But they said, I like to meet once a week, half an hour or an hour, and we just have a catch up. We do ours on a Monday so that we can talk. I can get through any questions that I've got about the previous week or the upcoming week. We can talk about priorities, all this kind of thing. As for your job being very demanding when you work from home, I think it goes back to that boundaries thing. Being able to communicate to your boss, if you've got like 10 competing priorities on your plate and all of them seem urgent, it's not always your job to figure out how to prioritize them. Hey, look, I've got 30 things on my plate that I need to do this week. They all seem very urgent. I need half an hour of your time. I need you to tell me what I'm going to do first. This is what I think I should do first. Make it your boss's problem. I know that's kind of like a juvenile and reductive way to look at things, but when I couldn't see the wood for the trees, that was very helpful to me. And then if I wasn't getting the 11th thing on the list done because I'd shelved that for next week, I could turn around and be like, look, my boss has backed me. This is our priority for this week. I don't have the time for you. And also I think when you're at home, it can feel very all encompassing because your work is leaching into your home space. I'm still fairly new to the work from home stuff, so I'm still trying to figure out how to best protect my time. But I will say one of the things I've always been very good at is boundaries at work, and I log off at the right time. I take my lunch break. I say I don't have time for that right now. I know that that is anxiety inducing for a lot of people, especially if you're like 2-3 years deep into your career or your work from home, where you feel like you can't kind of change your tune now.
Yeah, it's never too late to assert your boundaries. And asserting boundaries isn't inherently a conflict situation. I think on your point of like being anxious, I totally get that. And I initially moving into my career was very anxious about communicating my needs because I had an inherent belief that that would immediately lead to a conflict situation. Lack of nuance over like messages is like the worst.
Especially when you know someone's really busy.
And in actual fact, if it was a conversation over the phone,
would have been fine.
The tone would have been completely different. Where possible, try not to assume somebody else's tone.
How to keep your sparkle while working a corporate job. Dress how you want while you can, within reason. That's my favourite.
Yeah, I have quite a relaxed, feel the part.
I have quite a relaxed ish dress code, and that's like been a huge thing for me, and feeling like I'm able to still be a bit of me.
The deep answer for me is like finding meaning in what you do. Working corporate or working in office roles might not be your dream career, it might not be your dream path, it might be a means to an end, or it might be your dream career, but there's still that struggle to keep your sparkle in like what can be a very demanding and challenging work environment. For me, I think like finding the meaning in what you do allows you to feel excited about it, and to me, like excitement feels like sparkle. I initially never had wanted to go into the role that I was in now. I actually wanted to be a probation officer. Did you know that?
Oh my god, yeah, I forgot about that.
And for many reasons I decided not to do that, but I felt as though that was going to be a really fulfilling,
like a passion.
I really wanted to help support people in moving back into society and making better choices and so on and so forth. And like I say, for many reasons I didn't pursue that. On paper, maybe people would look at my role and not see it as being as fulfilling as like my previous career ambitions or other career ambitions that I could have. I choose to see my role as being something that still has a lot of meaning. My meaning, for instance, is no, I'm not that probation officer changing people's lives, or that's what I hoped anyway. Maybe that was naive, but what I am doing is supporting in making a environment as productive and comfortable and positive as possible for other people who have to spend more time at work than they do with their family, their partners, their friends. And that's where I found my meaning. When I am at work and I am feeling maybe more negative, or I'm not feeling that sparkly, if you can remind yourself of the reason why you're doing something, that can help reinvigorate you and allow yourself to have not sparkly days.
Yeah, sometimes it's just okay to go to your job and do your job.
How to deal with spending so much time with colleagues you'd never see in your personal life. How do I find a good balance to feel like myself rather than this corporate machine?
I feel this. My answer to every question ever is always going to be get some hobbies. As someone who's not particularly career driven and like my job is a means to an end, like my job is my pocket money, that implies that I earn loads outside of work. I don't. My job is my accessory. Getting more hobbies and like being a person outside of my job has been like a huge thing for me. I do think the spending time with colleagues thing that you'd never see in your personal life is difficult, because I definitely went through a stage where I was like, as if I'm spending 40 hours a week with people I don't care about.
With you lot.
Versus my family. I see you lot more than I see my dad. That was very heavy on my heart for quite a long time.
That's showbiz baby, right?
That's showbiz baby. I think a huge thing for me has like been discovering who I am outside of my job. Like I've said this time and time again to you, like when I go out with my friends or people I like know or don't know that well, I get so exasperated when people ask me how work is going, because my job is the least interesting thing about me. Like let's talk talk about other stuff. Let's talk about my hobbies. To feel like yourself rather than this corporate machine. Don't let your 8-hour corporate workday infringe on your personal time any more than it needs to. Yes, I am such a routine creature. I like to come home, I like to set out my clothes for the next day, I like to make my lunch, but don't let the fact that you are so exhausted from work stop you seeing a friend or stop you going to a class. Dare I say it without getting into a bigger conversation, the point of it all is to keep you so tired that the next thing you are talking about is work. If your weekend looks like resting and recharging, which it often does for me, and doing the things you love with intentionality, fine, but don't let work exhaust you so much that you spend the whole weekend doom scrolling and not seeing people because, you know, like, I can't see you Sunday afternoon because I'm too busy getting ready for work on Monday. Yes, that's something I love to do because I love to be organised, but when it starts impacting your sense of community and your hobbies and your time and your sense of well-being,
I think ultimately your 5 till 9 is more important than your 9 till 5. And that's coming from someone who is very career focused and who enjoys their job, but my time is still more important. If you need any tips about how to try and preserve that inside of your working day, I would always recommend utilising your breaks and your lunch breaks. If you have like quiet breakout spaces, if you're an on-site worker, go and take some time outside, go for a walk on your lunch if you're able to, or just sit somewhere that's quiet, that you don't have to be forced into a situation of socialising with colleagues when you don't have to.
Even when I was in like a shared break space, I'm cracking out that book. I don't care if there's 3 other people with me and we're in a tight space. We'll chat while I'm microwaving my lunch, but then I'm cracking out my book because I'm hitting my reading goal. I'm great at my job, but it drains my mental health. It's a niche industry, so I'm stuck.
Are you stuck?
I mean this in like, with all the love and light in the world, the thing I'm hearing is it's draining your mental health. Leave. And I know this is so easy for us to say as people that are not in niche industries, and like not knowing where you live and not knowing the job opportunity. I think leave. I think your mental health is worth way more than any other job. As someone that's left a job that made me feel so stressed and drained, I left my job in July. It was the best thing I've ever done. I literally have like a renewed lease of life. It may be a thing that you need to leave industry completely if it's a niche industry. Just think it's difficult to leave a niche industry and it'll be difficult to retrain or enter a new industry. Obviously pay plays a huge factor into this. We don't know your salary grade, but nothing is worth the cost of your mental health. Consider leaving. Don't take our like complete advice, but like consider leaving. Quit tomorrow. No notice. No. But I do just think it's not worth it. If it's costing you your mental health, it's not worth it.
I don't really have anything else to add, really.
No, I think like take your situation into account, of course, make an exit plan, put steps in place you can to preserve what is left of your mental health, but I just don't think it's worth it. I'm about me first and foremost.
And you said I'm great at my job, which I can wholeheartedly believe, but do you know what? You'll become not great at your job if you carry on.
Leave on a good note.
Leave on a good note, leave on a high. What would you do if your managers said maybe you should consider another role, but they also said that you're the most experienced in the team and very much valued?
So the first thing I'm hearing, I know it seems like a contradictory statement for someone to turn around and be like, oh, you should consider another role. By the way, you're so good at your job and you're very valued. They're probably both true. Your managers probably do really value you. You are the most experienced in the team. You probably do bring something to that. But what I'm hearing is that they think you should consider another role, in which case I think you should consider another role. Not in a way that your managers are right and you should listen, but they are saying something. We don't know the context. I won't stay in a situation for even 1 second that where people don't want me or that I'm not enjoying it. I think they're being very clear.
It's context dependent though, but like if this person say was really unhappy in their role, and even though they were really good at it and really experienced and really valued, that it was clear that they weren't happy, I kind of need to know like why has the manager said that to you? Are they saying that?
Are they saying that because they don't want you, or are they saying that because they think you'd be better in another role?
Exactly. So it's difficult to answer that without specific context, but I think we've probably covered both of those scenarios.
I jump the gun and I'm going to be like, don't stay where you aren't wanted. And to me, if they're being like, maybe you should consider another role, they might be saying it nicely, but I'm like, okay, I hear you, I'm out. I know that sounds really harsh and really awful, but
consider the context as to why they said that to you.
It might be that they think there's an area of your skill set that would be better suited to like another team. I don't know if they're referring to considering another role like in your current business or just generally. It might be that they think you're a better fit for somewhere else, or
better to have the scary conversation and to know where you stand.
How to take a big step career change. Dog groomer for 7 years, now want to be a funeral director. Firstly, congratulations in realising you want to do something else. I'm a big proponent of do what you want and then do something else. I've had 1,000 jobs in 1,000 lifetimes.
I mean, I think do your research if you haven't already, giving yourself enough time to get bored of an idea or to put yourself off of an idea. A big thing I do if I'm considering doing something and I'm not sure or I'm feeling tentative about it is I try and sell myself against the idea. And if right at the end of selling myself against the idea, I still actually think I want to do it, then I've probably given myself enough space to consider all possibilities. And also the biggest reassurance that I have in life at all times is most things aren't permanent.
You can do what you want to do until you don't want to do it, and then you do something else. And you know what, my dad, he's like 78, he's had so many career changes. He's only just started doing his PhD at the grand old age of 78, has been my biggest inspiration for stuff like that.
Yeah.
Agree with what Abby's saying. I don't give myself the talking out stage, which I would because it's led to many failed business.
That's why we're
ventures.
friends.
That's why we're friends. Practically look at the ins and outs of what it would be like to retrain. If there's any salary discrepancies, can you afford the discrepancy? All of the kind of practical stuff. Look at that, make an exit plan.
Yeah.
Look at the job market in your area. I know funeral directors, it's like a thing, I've seen it online, that less and less younger people are doing that. So it's like an industry that is wanting people.
I mean, there's always going to be dogs and there's always going to be deaths, so you're pretty set either way.
People are always going to have pets and people are always going to die. You could be
supply and
a
demand.
pet funeral director, pet crematorium. We are always going to say
go for it
and pursue your heart's desire. The worst thing that could happen is that you don't like it and then you just go back and do something else or do what you were doing before.
Yeah. Slay.
Go direct those funerals.
Enjoy. How can I learn to leave a toxic work environment? I work with my best friends, so it's hard.
My short answer is just leave, because your best friends will leave. When they get a new opportunity, they will leave.
That's not where I was going with that.
Oh, okay. Sorry. That's like my blanket answer.
Yeah,
we
I
used
do
to work
agree.
together and we were really good friends. I met my partner at one of my jobs and I made most of my best friends from that job, and I watched them all leave bit by bit by bit. Ultimately, at the end of the day, your friends will still be your friends once you leave. As someone that's been in this situation and watched my friends leave before I have, it was quite a realization, recognizing that people are actively seeking out furthering themselves and their own goals over prioritizing working with me. And that sounds really selfish. No, let me land. Let me land. I was like, why wouldn't anyone ever not want to work with their best friends?
Yeah,
and I was like, oh, for a multitude of reasons. Actually, what I want is what's best for them in terms of their careers. That means sacrificing some things, and I can't expect everyone to stay at this job forever so that we can be in this happy little work best friend bubble, because I was ignoring all the other problems with my workplace, because at the end of the day I still got to come to work and see all my best friends and we could all get through it together. And actually, we shouldn't be getting through anything together in work. We should be having a better workplace.
They're going to be your best friends regardless if you work together or not. And someone said this to me once and I thought it was like such a cold, callous thing to say. I don't go to work to make friends.
And I agree with that.
And I stand on that now.
Yeah.
When I first heard it, being like less mature, like less further along in my career, I was kind of like, whoa. I was like, all right.
I'm laughing because I'm thinking about us at the start of this being like, you should make friends at work. And then all us being like, work is not for making friends.
Yeah, but there's nuance, isn't there? And
Yeah.
like, however you do want to get along with your colleagues, if you do have colleagues which turn into friends, then that's
a
great.
benefit.
That's a healthy byproduct, a happy byproduct. Your friends shouldn't be the reason that you stay in a toxic workplace.
Toxic. And that's the thing, toxic.
At the end of the day, if you don't leave, you get left.
And that's what I was trying to say. You just did it in a better sentence. Otherwise, you will be the one that's left. And then guess what? You won't work with your best friends and it will just be toxic. Next, we're on to our grief section. As I said earlier, there was a lot of questions about grief. Grievers Unite, really appreciated it. I then decided, seeing the volume of questions and for the sake of the length of the video, that I'm going to separate this into a separate video where I answer the majority of the questions solo. I just think to protect both of us and to protect the length and how much we love talking about grief.
Yeah,
And
grief,
to answer, I think, such a barrage of grief questions all at once is quite intense. So yeah, if your question hasn't been answered in this section, I've just picked like two fairly light touch general ones. Never fear, I will be answering them in the next video. And thank you to everyone for sharing and submitting. It's quite comforting to know that we're not going through it alone, but in the same breath, the volume of questions and the specificity of a lot of the questions was quite intense and quite heavy. Yeah, that's why we're only answering two. For context, our grief qualifications. I'm comfortable talking about this, but I lost my mum when I was a child, and 3-4 years ago, my brother passed away. Abby is recently bereaved as well. I won't speak on that too much because it's not my business. But yeah, we're gonna get through to these questions because we've got quite different but similar perspectives, I think, as someone that is more historically bereaved and someone that is more recently going through it. Do you get waves of guilt for being happy and moving on knowing that your loved ones aren't here anymore?
Yeah, I definitely do. My context is that my bereavement was fairly recent, so in July my dad passed away. I feel very relieved as well as very saddened and very, I mean, all of the things that someone who's experiencing grief feels. I feel angry, I feel frustrated, I feel sad, all of that kind of stuff. But also very relieved because he was poorly for quite a long time and in a nursing home in his 50s. It was a situation that felt very kind of unnatural for someone
It's quite unique, isn't it?
Obviously a lot of people lose parents at what feels like an unnatural point in their life. You don't think you'll be a 28-year-old that loses a parent because, and you know, I'm sure you felt the same, you know, being a child who loses their parent as well. I do definitely get waves of guilt for being happy because I feel like I should be sadder. I am sad, but I feel like I should be sadder, not looking forward to, but looking ahead to Christmas, for instance, where it will be my first Christmas without one of my parents. I feel a lot of kind of relief that he won't be in a nursing home, really poorly, in a lot of pain, and there is a part of me that thinks that that's horrible to feel that way, and I think that's quite a natural feeling for some people, especially when you've had maybe a bereavement of a person in your life who has been sick or in pain for quite a long period of time. If there's one thing about Shara and I, we love nuance, and we always say that two things can exist at once. So yes, I do feel guilt for being happy in a way that I'm moving on with my life, I'm looking forward to things, and although it was very recent, I also feel very happy that he isn't here in pain anymore. I would rather him not be here and not be in pain than be here and be in pain, as difficult as that is to process.
I think it's so interesting because obviously you're like so freshly bereaved, because for me, I don't feel an ounce of guilt. Not for a second. That's so horrible to say out loud.
No, it's not.
We're
at different stages.
Had a very different experience with my brother, and I guess, like, to say I get waves of guilt for being happy and moving on, no. It's impossible to say I never did. I remember saying it to you so much, like, and we've actually spoken about it, like, the 3 months after my brother died were, like, some of the best months of our lives.
Yeah, that was a wild time.
That was, like, some of the best times we've ever had, and so many of my friends have said that to me independently, because I think what I experienced in those moments, when someone dies, someone lives. And it was me, like, she lived doing what I needed to do, but I was going out, I like fucking started a business, like, I did so much stuff. I was able to like have my boundaries for like the first time in ages with work. I finally cut down my hours at work. I took a financial hit for doing that, but I was just so firm in what I wanted. When someone dies, when anyone dies, you expect it to be this, like, you know, the Bella New Moon Twilight scene where the camera's panning around her and it's like,
I thought my knees would buckle and I would fall to the floor.
I thought the phone would drop out of my hand in slow motion and it would hit and go doof, and it would buckle and I'd collapse, and I thought it would be so cinematic, and I thought it would be endless. The camera's on me. It's so interesting how we like perform grief, isn't it?
That's the
camera's on me. I thought every day when Carrie gets a divorce in the Sex and the City movie, no, when he jilts her at the altar, not the divorce, and they're like pulling the cover back, closing the shutters day after day, she can't eat. I was sad one day and then I was happy the next, and then I was like, why am I happy? I should be sad. People see me at the pub, they go, oh hi, and then they go, oh, because they remember like my brother's died, and it's like, oh, and now I'm awkward. It was never this like wave of 100 days of mourning. It was like up and down and up and down. And I think what's been a more accurate depiction of grief for me is that every milestone or happy moment that happens is like a little grief, because it's a realization of there's one less person to share things with. So you get the promotion, or you think, oh, I would love to tell this person about that, and it's kind of like that reminder rather than like the 300 days of fucking grief you're expecting. And if anything, for me, it's become more tangible as I've got older, especially with my mum, and I'm going through like more milestones as I get older. It's this thing of like, the more friends I lose, the more friends I gain. There are less people that know my mother or knew my mother, and there are less people that met and knew my brother. I don't think I have any friends really that I'm still in contact with that ever met my mum, and that's been like a really difficult thing for me, because it's like my partner, my friends, like that was my long answer, and my short answer is no, I don't ever really feel guilt, but I do feel this sense of something is wrong when things are moving on, like when the time is passing.
I was also just thinking as well, like my happiness and my success in life were both things that made my dad so happy. So to feel guilt about those things happening when actually those were the things that my dad loved for me and about me, It's kind of a disservice to
Yeah.
him. Not to be that person that's like, they'd want you to be happy.
No, but they would. If you didn't, he'd haunt me.
I'm sure he is.
I didn't feel guilty in the instance because no one is going to tell me how to grieve. If I want to go live fast and loose and be out at the club every night like we were, I will be. There's no one's right to tell me how to grieve.
Yeah. Or drinking 4 bottles of chicken wine in the rain outside with
Still
your friends.
feeling sober. We owe each other a new liver.
How do you stay connected to people in your life who can't relate to your grief? And for me, trauma. There can be such an abyss between me and people who aren't grieving.
This was such a big problem for me. Do you remember?
It is for me now, I think.
Reduce it all to a thing that's so concise was that I didn't.
Yeah.
I did and I didn't.
But you didn't stay connected to those people.
I found this really, really difficult. I was really angry, but there's this you'll never understand, like you'll never understand. But it's so funny because at the same time, like actually at the time I was grieving, you hadn't been through a bereavement.
No.
But this didn't bother me, but I was like, I never want you to understand. I never, ever, ever want you to understand what I'm going through.
I mean, look at the way you reacted when we realised that I was probably going to understand.
Yeah,
and like way sooner than we thought.
Yeah, I never felt any kind of way about you not having been through it because it was the last thing I ever wanted for you to experience. And the same way my partner's never experienced any kind of like close bereavement. It's a miracle, to be honest, we say as connected as we did. Me and Doug. So the Marina Trench. What's the one that's underground? Golden Canyon? The Grand Canyon. I'm trying to make a metaphor that's not landing.
Don't talk history to
I
me.
felt like a huge standing on the other side of the world to the other people that just didn't understand. A chasm.
Is that right?
A chasm, yeah. I felt like there was this massive gap of non-understanding and I didn't even make a slight attempt to stay connected to those people at the time because I knew that if the connection was true and it was valid, it would come back to me. But then also most people I know, I'm only friends with people with trauma. I never put the onus on them that I expected them to relate to me. I don't know how I got through it actually. The people in my life that I wanted to stay connected to, I told them in all of the ugliest form of how I felt, all of the really, really, really harrowing, horrible thoughts about grief, all of the really disgusting things.
Yeah.
Yes, while it was quite shocking, I think some of it, and while it was definitely not some of my finer moments, no one expected it to be, and people expected me to turn up and be ugly. And I don't mean physically ugly, I mean like be ugly about the feelings. That was how we stayed connected. It was the only way I could make people understand.
It's been more of a comfort, sadly, to me now, having experienced my own bereavement and my own grief. And being brave enough to be authentic in your grief around me, you unknowingly prepared me to deal with mine.
Oh, that's cute, isn't it?
Don't make me cry.
Some of the ugliest things I've ever said about it and some of the most like true things I've ever said about it, I've been so surprised to hear them echoed out of your mouth, maybe without realising, like however many years later, while everyone's grief is so different at its most base, it's so similar.
Yeah, definitely. Thoughts that you just have no control over.
The visceral thoughts.
The ugliest thoughts that you can ever think, really.
And also like down to like the not sleeping, which you're struggling with.
Yeah, I've never had an issue with sleep until now.
And I never had an issue with sleep until I grieved.
That's so annoying. I love sleeping.
I loved sleeping, I couldn't sleep at all.
Magnesium.
That's why I read so much.
I guess my answer is like more recent. What I struggled with was feeling like people had forgotten, because I haven't been performing grief in the way that we were just talking about it. I didn't need personally to take a lot of time off of work. That wasn't the right coping mechanism for me. I grieved how I needed to grieve. A lot of that wasn't stereotypical grieving as we see it in films and TV.
You're grieving how you need to be grieving because you're still grieving.
Because I'm still grieving. Yeah, that's
Not
so
past
true.
tense.
Don't remind me.
By the way.
I also think that when it relates to like partners and friends who you do really care about and want to keep that connection with, they know, and if they don't, if you are in a place to, then educate them. I'm not saying that anyone should be worried about educating other people on grief when you're grieving. That is the last thing that I'm saying.
Tell them what you need.
Tell them. Not for a second am I saying you should be worried about educating people on grief when you're in the throes of grief, but as in when you're able to and you've got those small pockets of energy, in the long run it does benefit, I think, to try and help offer clarity and like Shah said, tell people what you need in that moment, or just explain. You know, several times I've had to say to someone, you know, I know that you can't see my grief right now, but that's not to say that it's not there. So actually I'd really appreciate it if you could continue checking in on me incessantly. I made a dig at you and you didn't catch it.
Did I not?
No.
Oh.
I said continue checking in on people incessantly.
Yeah, I do.
You know, when you're like, I'm going to continue checking in on you every single day.
Yeah. Basically just like telling people what you need. I hope that answered it. That was quite a vague answer. But the abyss will close eventually. Maybe not completely, but it will.
You either make a decision to stay connected or you choose to protect yourself for a while until you can reconnect. If you have the spoons to make the decision to stay connected, then that will involve communication and sometimes a bit of education, especially to those who can't relate.
This This post has been brought to you by dead family members. So this is the last section of the video. I've just put under the category of like life questions and misc questions. This is everything that didn't have like a certified section to go in.
So the next question is, how do you explain ADHD struggles to neurotypical loved ones? I'm newly diagnosed. Hello, I'm the neurotypical loved one.
Hello, I'm the neurodivergent one. My first instinct to say like I don't. Not all of my family know. I'm quite late diagnosed ADHD for reference to people that don't know me. I was diagnosed like 3 or 4 years ago, and I just, yeah, it was just before my brother died. I live in like quite a private family. We're all just like keep to ourselves. I'm pretty sure all my family are neurodivergent. So I've always existed very luckily in that frame of reference that we kind of all do our own thing and that we're all at home with each other's quirks. But I guess in explaining to like you and to my partner on like ways to support me, anytime I come across like any of those like Instagram posts or whatever where it's like what it's like or what you can do, I'm not very good with my words, so I tend to like send those on. And I think just in talking about like how I am in the diagnosis process and all of that, it's been quite clarifying in a way.
Yeah,
I think where you maybe didn't know what it was that made me neurodivergent and that it was just like a quirk of mine, actually gave some weight onto like why I think I have it and why I subsequently do have it. Don't feel the pressure, I think, as you're newly diagnosed to feel like you have to explain all of these things, because even 3 or 4 years down the line, even though I've lived with this my whole life, I'm still unpicking what it means for me in terms of like communication styles and like how I live my life and things I like and things I don't like, and I'll never be able to pick them apart completely, and I'll never be able to figure out what things are my ADHD and what things are me, because I shouldn't have to, because I have ADHD and that's me. When I was newly diagnosed, it was this huge flurry of like, I do all these things, like I'm watching all these TikToks, I'm watching all these Instagrams. My hyperfixation became the fact that I was neurodivergent, and it's only now that I'm kind of like, okay, this is just like an extra added on thing that affects some areas of my life sometimes and not always. Everyone will have different levels of need as well. I'm not the paragon of what it means to be a woman with ADHD. If you feel like it's affecting your life and your friendships, or there's better ways that people can support you, small things like being a caller versus being a texter, being late, reminding people of plans. I have to get a joint diary with my partner, because I am so bad at retaining any information about dates. There are some strengths and weaknesses in your life that you will naturally like be aware of already and play up to, whether they're linked with your neurodivergency or not. Some things I'm good at, some things you're good at, some things I'm bad at. We just like pick up the slack back and forth.
I'm not going to offer an explanation here because it's not my lived experience, but from my experience of being your friend, your habits, quirks, behaviours, which can be attributed to having ADHD, you possessed those before you were diagnosed with ADHD.
And before either of us knew, right?
I still, as a friend, showed grace or patience if it needed to be, or even loved and enjoyed those things about you. I loved how you always had different hobbies and different things that you wanted to pick up and different ideas. That's something I love about you. And if it was things that might be considered to be like less attractive traits, let's say like being late for instance, okay fine, like Char's late, I'll tell her to turn up half an hour earlier than I want her.
But even in the way that like if I'm a bit forgetful with plans we've made,
forgetful or whatever,
you check in with me like 2 days before, like, do you still want to do this? Are you still up for this?
At its core, and hopefully to offer you some reassurance, it's very likely that the people around you, that your loved ones have, like they know, like they've probably already been working with these quirks, with these traits, with these things, with these challenges. Like they've been working with those for a long time before you were diagnosed, and they will continue to.
Explaining the logic and the how and the why and things like time blindness and, you know, like rejection sensitive dysphoria and like pathological like demand avoidance, like being told to do something. I am going to explain that in a way that's not too jargony, or send a post or do something like that to be like, I'm not being a dick when you ask me to do something and I say no, it's just you've got my hackles up and I want to say no for the sake of saying no. Again, I think that's reducing it to me sounding like a petulant child. How do you deal with the nostalgia that comes from getting older? We're the wrong people to ask this because we love getting older.
I love getting older.
I can't wait to be 30.
We sound nose.
I can't wait to be 30.
I do have some nostalgia. However, I am more excited about the future, so it's difficult for me to feel any kind of intense visceral feelings about the past and about history, because I'm so excited for what's to come. So whilst that maybe doesn't resonate with you because you sound like somebody who experiences nostalgia, you could probably take part of my answer. You can recognise that you are thinking back to good times and to times of your life that you loved and that you enjoyed, and I still certainly have those. I know you do too. but practicing like gratitude for what once was, but also excitement for what's to come. The future is coming no matter what. I sound like those TikToks. It's like, wake up and smell the fucking roses.
No, I love those.
I love those too.
The only kind of nostalgia I really get that it's like a really terrible, debilitating nostalgia is when it's winter and I'm thinking about summer.
Oh yeah.
So like now I'm thinking about all the times I could have been warm and went outside but didn't. The few times I do, it's because I'm like running away from something. I'm like, oh, what am I thinking about now that I'm not wanting to face in my real life because I'm like too busy romanticizing the past. I think you can reframe your thinking away from nostalgia being this like debilitating heart feeling where you like long for something, and move it into like a gut feeling where it's like really happy and it's in your head and it's like, wow, how lucky I am, how grateful I am. I think we ultimately are the kinds of people that have that kind of outlook on life anyway. We're always looking forward rather than back, but I do have friends that are like so deeply nostalgic for their teen years, and I just think, like, I can't imagine anything worse. I'm excited to be like hot and 40.
Yeah, I want to be in my mid-30s.
I can't wait to be 34.
Oh,
if anything, I'm gonna be like hotter, I'm gonna have more money than ever,
more confident.
The next 35 years of my life are like about me. There's no school,
there's no curfew.
Reframing it as like, I'm so excited for the next part of my life, while also still maintaining a semblance of present, so you're not always on to the next thing. I think that's how I deal with it.
Look forward to what you've got coming and enjoy what you had.
Make more things to be nostalgic about.
That's so true as well.
That's so true.
All the while that you're worrying about what once was, you're not thinking about what will be. Any advice and tips on not feeling guilty for living a slower life in my 20s?
I'm a slow life girl.
I've
really slowed it down in like the last 3 or 4 years. It's really hard, I think, especially if you've got friends that are living at all varying speeds. And depending on where you live, I think, because we live in quite a small city, I think if I lived in London or somewhere, it would feel like unbearable that you always had to be like doing stuff. Reiterate what I said earlier, I do not ever feel guilty a second for doing anything that I want to do or being in a situation that I want to be in. For me as well, it comes with acknowledging the difference in life that we all lead, because what's good for me is not going to be good for someone else and vice versa. I think there is so much benefit to living slower. I am not in the rat race, for lack of a better phrase. Like, I am not chasing the next big thing. I'm not doing the next big thing. I'm not trying to speed along my relationship, you know, get a mortgage, get married, have babies. No shame in the game if you are, but I think that's the beauty of it, is recognizing it, that we all want something completely different out of life. The guilt and the shame, journal on it, babe. Like, figure out where it comes from. It might be you're harboring a sense of guilt and shame because your 10 closest friends are all living at a much faster pace than you, are all chasing things that don't align with you, but that's probably why they love you. It's probably like amazing perspective for them. I feel like we live at quite similar speeds ish. I don't know, it's really hard to say. I don't even compare myself to you like that though. That's the thing.
Think about it.
Like, comparison is the thief of joy. Like, I'm not concerned with the speed at which other people are moving, because we're never going to be moving at the same speed in life.
But that's the thing. And if you look at the different facets, like, you live with your partner, I don't yet. I have these ambitions to be like a director one day, but you don't. You want to be your own boss. Like, none of them are wrong, and the pace is never wrong. It's just what is right for you.
And that's not to say that your pace might slow down, your pace might speed up. There's going to be incredibly quick times in my life. Right now, all I want to do is like scrapbook and learn to crochet. Like, I'm not trying to hashtag girl boss it, no offense. It sounds so unnatural to say feeling guilty about what's doing right for you, because that's a crazy sentence.
But you do. I don't want to invalidate your feelings, but just consider why you feel guilty about doing the right thing for you, because ultimately there's going to be something there. It might be societal expectations, it might be your current circle, like Shah said, it might be that you actually feel like you could be doing more in actually a really positive way, and you're thinking, oh, maybe I'm not shooting for the stars, but actually I know I could.
There'll be things that, you know, I'm speaking directly to you, there'll be things you'll know that you consider fast and things that you consider slow, and ask yourself why you're putting a bigger value on the things that you consider fast than you are on the things that make you happy, which are the things that are slow. And I will say, if it's the societal expectations that come from it, tailor your content that you're consuming. For the love of God, that was the best thing I ever did. I moved away from all this productivity, it girl, like CEO, girl boss content, and I've never felt better about myself. I stopped following people that were maybe at different paces in my life, that it wasn't making me feel feel good. If I was no
Yeah.
longer feeling inspired by the kind of content that I was consuming and I was feeling pressured by it, you know, suddenly this stuff was not aspirational, inspirational, it was just making me feel bad about where I was at in my stage of life. Mute,
Yeah.
delete.
And particularly those that are promoting dishonest representations of those lifestyles, you know, they're like
The productivity girl.
yeah, the do-it-all mum who actually has a nanny and a gardener and a cleaner, and
tea.
also a lot of these representations aren't even true, let alone things that we should be striving for anyway.
Any tips to stay motivated after work during this grey sky season?
Make plans and head straight into them after work. I just think the second you sit on that sofa and open up TikTok,
Oh, you're doomed.
you're done.
You're done out
You're
here.
done. You're in for the night and you're doing nothing.
Do you know what, since it's been getting dark as well, so I finish work at 4, I can fucking waste that evening, you know? 9 PM, then it's time for bed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what have I done? Sweet fuck all. I've
Yeah.
sat here watching edits of people I don't care about. I've watched the entire press coverage of Gladiator 2. I've watched 6 ASMRs of people's 5 to 9 after their 9 to 5, and I'm not feeling good about any of it.
That was so vulnerable.
I follow, thanks for listening to me.
No worries.
I follow like a little stupid routine that I like lifted off some TikTok anti-rot like hot girl itinerary after work, where she breaks it down into like 40-minute segments, and it has actually really helped me. And I put my phone away when I finish work, especially when I work from home, because it's so tempting to be like, I'm just gonna have half an hour on the sofa. First thing I do when I finish work is stretch and work out, and I like put out my mat like just before I finish, and I put my phone in another room. It's just once you get that momentum, it's fine, it's cool.
Yeah,
but it's that sitting for me at least.
I think momentum's the key thing, because it's so dark and cold when you finish work. It's so easy to get into like hovel mode immediately.
I get a bit like decision fatigue, you know, when you come home and you've been making decisions all day at work and you don't know where to start, because you want to do this, I want to read my book, I want to paint, I want to have a bath, I want to paint my toenails, I want to watch some of my show. But I like spiral,
Like Possum.
sit down, yeah, and I just don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So I think like leaning into that has been like so good for me. I'm trying to like axe myself from a phone addiction. So like I have this really stupid setting now. My phone goes on black and white, so I don't get like the dopamine from the coloured images. Oh my god, I'm like an iPad baby. Yeah, look.
Oh my god.
It really helps. I put that on like whenever I don't want to be on my phone for a little while, and it really helps because then I don't get like sucked into TikTok. Lots of people obviously suggest putting like screen time limits and stuff, but if I know the password, I'm taking it off. Do you know what I mean? Like,
You're too self-indulgent.
I'm too self-indulgent. Do you ever feel pressure to meet certain milestones by a certain age?
Yes. I actively have to try to not feel pressured to meet milestones by a certain age, and that's fine.
You
Like,
have to gentle parent yourself.
I'd love to say I'm so happy-go-lucky and oh, it's all at your own pace. Like, that is true, but it is still difficult.
That's not in alignment with you being like a career girly as well. I think it's quite difficult, isn't it?
Yes. When you have goals and things that you want in life, if others are achieving it before you, then of course that might feel uncomfortable, particularly with like life milestones. My biggest thing is just always remembering that people will not remember how old I was when I bought a house or how old I was when I had my first baby.
I won't remember how old I was when I did that stuff.
No one's thinking about how old I am when I do these things. They're just happy that these milestones have come about, and so will I be. I won't be sat there going, yeah, it's so great that I finally managed to buy myself a house, but I really wish I did it 5 years ago.
It would be great to put myself in the Forbes 30 under 30.
Yeah,
and I've
that would
got
be nice.
one year and 1 month. Let's never say never. Yeah, I just think like a milestone is a milestone. I've always been a very unage oriented person, and now as I kind of reach my 30s and people are doing like the traditional familial milestones, I'm feeling like the pressure of that leech onto me, and I'm keeping this bubble of like, don't let that shit touch me just because you're worried about it. It's inevitable that you will feel some of the fall off of that, but I do just think like these are all self-imposed milestones, but you can just make it up. They're just made up.
They are so made up.
They're so made up.
I also don't like age shaming, and like I hate when people come to me with the energy of like, oh, nearly 30.
Are you
Don't you feel old?
How do you feel?
Oh, we're starting to feel it now, aren't you? 3-day hangovers
will
took
kick
in.
Oh, I hate it.
Give it a rest.
It's like, okay, because when someone says that to me, I'm like, so you're worried about turning 30 then?
Yeah, I'm like, okay, Pam, tell me you're insecure about aging. Pam's not a real person. My life is my life. I'm so grateful for how long I've lived. I'm grateful for hoping to live a lot longer.
Aging is a privilege.
Aging is a privilege, because actually some of us don't make it. I think it's a confidence thing as well. I think if you, I was gonna say believe in your own source. Oh. I was even saying
You've never said that.
I've never said that.
That's
I
so
literally never said
funny. Oh my god. What are you gonna say? You're a different person on social media.
I'm a different person now.
It's got to your head.
First video.
First video.
Okay, well, now I've had that reality check.
I do feel pressure, and then I just remind myself that it's all a game anyway. It's all made up. Why would I feel under pressure when I can simply not?
Such a feeling of rushing, especially in our generation as well.
You can't enjoy it when you get there.
You just can't enjoy it. You're missing things. It's like running from everywhere you go in life. It's like running from your house to work, running from work to whatever plan you've got next. You're missing everything in between.
Slow down, like be a bit present.
How do you remove bikini hair? Because waxing seems the way, but it's so expensive.
Not gonna like what I have to tell you.
Oh, you're gonna say to do it, aren't you?
Get waxed.
Yeah, I know you are.
I wax. My life hack, my unethical life hack for this is if you have a partner, get your partner to pay for it.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say do it.
No. Oh my god. I don't think I've paid for wax for 5 years.
I just love that for you.
Cough up the cash. Don't like shaving. I get really bad hyperpigmentation on my skin just because I'm like a mixed race. I get like scarring quite bad from things, so ingrown hairs and stuff are really bad for me. I don't wax my legs anymore. I did just buy an at-home wax machine, but I haven't decided to use it yet. And I don't wax my underarms because it hurts too much. You're a shaving girly though.
I am. I would say my only reason for shaving over waxing is because there are other beauty treatments that I would prefer to allocate my budget to. If it's actually just not a possibility for you financially, or if you don't want to because like me there are other things you would rather allocate your budget to, I would just suggest trying to invest in making it as straightforward as possible. So like using a really good razor. I quite like the Estrade razors.
I was gonna get one.
Also men's razors can actually sometimes be really good for...
I prefer men's razors.
For her.
I prefer straight men's razors.
It depends, doesn't it? Different shapes, sizes, skin, you know, hair. It's so...
Some people get
so
more,
dependent.
like, some people are more prone to ingrowns and stuff than other people.
I'm very fair and fine, you're very dark and coarse. Use good shaving cream or shaving gel, whatever works for you. You know, ingrown hair balms. Do your research. I'm not going to suggest any right now because I think, again, it's so dependent on you and your body and your hair and your skin. Make sure you've got a routine in place.
To do my small bit of feminism.
I know you're about to go off on there.
As someone that gets rid of their body hair, I always think it's great for us to examine
why we feel we need to
remove our body hair, and let's look at the origins of it. I'm a hypocrite, but like I just think it's really interesting, and that's all I'll say on that. How can I handle being on my own? You're so qualified to answer this.
That's so mean.
No, you're doing really well.
I'm not very good at being on my own. That's something I'm working with in my late 20s for sure. I'm usually best at being on my own when I'm doing something that I love doing. It's like a skill, I have to practice it. Sometimes times where, say I'll be finishing work and like my partner's going to play football and I know I'll be home alone because my housemate's at work as well. And the temptation will be immediately to try and fill that time with being around someone.
I love being on my own. I rest and recharge by being on my own.
But I'm an extrovert.
But yeah, exactly. And I think it's determining how you charge up. I'm also assuming that you mean like being on your own generally day to day rather than like being on your own in like in a bigger sense of the word, like on your own single. Yeah, I think the advice I would give to people who don't like being on their own is little and often rather than like silent retreating yourself.
Yeah, doing things that you enjoy doing in that time.
Doing something you like, watching a TV show you like. There's no shame in it if you find yourself on your own and you want to make plans to fill that void, because you're not going to go from not liking being alone to all of a sudden having to mandate hours alone, because that's what I do. I feel like I need alone time.
I feel like alone time happens to me. I don't often choose to be alone, so my big like journey is being like accepting that those times will come and not feeling the need to fill it with like social interaction, to like what is frankly just trying to like avoid being alone with my own thoughts.
There's a difference, isn't there, between spending time on your own and being alone versus feeling lonely. Because I like almost never feel lonely when I'm alone, obviously just because we love making everything really deep. Like when you're on your own, do you feel lonely? Yeah, I would say get used to being by yourself little and often. Do things intentionally in that time
that you enjoy.
Just because you're on your own doesn't mean, like Abby said, you can be out in town, you can be mooching around the shops, you can be like taking pictures of things you want to buy. Like, it doesn't have to be spending money when you're alone, but you can be doing stuff out and about just by yourself.
And I try not to do this too much, and so I would be cautious in how often you're doing this and not leaning on it as a crutch. But sometimes if I am feeling like, you know, when you're doing something on your own, like the room's silent and you're like,
oh my god, yeah,
like I can hear my own like breathing, I can feel my heart beating.
Yeah, oh my god, I hate that when you can hear your pulse.
Yeah, I will listen to like podcasts.
But you know, when I'm on my own, I like almost never have silence.
I try not to do that though, because they say that like it's good to learn to be on your own with your own thoughts. Maybe if it's something that you struggle with, I would be mindful as to how much you're leaning on that.
Most of the time when I'm at home by myself, in the background I have classical FM.
YouTube videos. I'm outing myself now.
What?
Sometimes I'll even like put your videos on, like just if I want to hear like a familiar voice. Like I won't like sit and be like, you know.
That's so nice.
That's the luxury of having a friend who's online, right? I find something comforting to listen to. Classical FM, podcasts, YouTube videos, voices, people.
That's the last one.
Oh my god, we did it.
I do not know what the length of this video will be as I'm filming it right now, but I hope it's a longer one because I know you all love the longer videos. I hope you enjoyed seeing my bestie Abby.
Thank you for having
me.
And
I hope that we answered everything sufficiently. And like I said, do not take this as gospel. We are just two girls living life for the first time on the internet.
We don't know shit.
We don't know sweet fuck all.
There is nothing in between these ears.
There is nothing that we know. I think that's discrediting ourselves. But we don't take liability.
Just have low expectations, okay?
Just have low expectations. I hope you enjoyed it. It's been really fun to film with a friend, and hopefully it's been fun for you to watch as well. Subscribe, like, socials in the description box, all the usuals. Thanks so much for watching.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.